Did you know that 1 in 5 job seekers never hear back from an interview? That's right, despite spending hours preparing, many people never get a response. And here's something even more shocking. 60% of hiring managers have already decided if they're going to hire you within the first 90 seconds of meeting you. That's less time than it takes to brew a cup of coffee. Job interviews can feel like a game, but many don't realize the stakes are higher than they seem. One small mistake can cost you the job. In this video, I'm sharing my biggest interview blunders, things I wish I knew before stepping into that room. From saying the wrong thing to ignoring crucial signs, these mistakes are more common than you think. Stick around, and I'll show you how to avoid these traps, so you can nail your next interview with confidence. Trust me, you'll want to hear this, because the difference between getting hired and being forgotten could be just one mistake. Let's dive in. Chapter 1, The Nerve-Wracking Overconfidence. Why I shot myself in the foot. Confidence is essential in an interview, but there's a fine line between being self-assured and coming off as arrogant. In my early job hunting days, I made the mistake of walking into an interview with my chest puffed out, thinking that sheer confidence would win the day. I thought I was ready for anything, but that energy didn't quite land well with the interviewer. Turns out, people prefer humility over ego, especially when you're still trying to prove your worth. Research backs this up. A 2020 survey by JobVite found that 66% of recruiters said they'd reject candidates who seemed too arrogant. Too much confidence can make you seem disconnected, like you're not really listening or valuing the opportunity. Employers want to know you're eager but not overbearing. It's important to strike that balance between showcasing your skills and showing you're open to growth. For example, instead of saying, "I'm the best person for the job," you could say, "I'm really excited about this position and believe my experience aligns well with your needs." Simple shift, but it shows you're confident and humble. Remember, confidence isn't about proving you're perfect, it's about showing you're capable and ready to learn. A powerful takeaway from the Confidence Code by Katty Kay and Claire Shipman is this: confidence isn't about being perfect, it's about being willing to fail and try again. So, next time you feel the nerves kicking in, remind yourself it's okay to be unsure sometimes. Instead of overselling yourself, focus on how you can add value to the team. Chapter 2, The Silence That Killed My Chances. When saying nothing is worse than saying too much. Have you ever been asked a question in an interview and found yourself frozen, unsure of how to respond? I have. And trust me, silence can be more damaging than giving a long, rambling answer. It might seem like a pause for thought, but to the interviewer, it can come across as a lack of preparation or even disinterest. A study by LinkedIn found that 70% of hiring managers said the worst thing a candidate can do is leave an awkward silence. In interviews, it's not just about having the right answer, it's about delivering it with confidence and clarity. Stumbling around for words or staying silent too long can make you seem unprepared. When you're asked a question, it's important to answer promptly, even if you need to think for a second. A simple phrase like, "That's a great question, let me think about it," gives you time to compose yourself without leaving silence hanging. The trick is practicing how to handle pauses. A great way to do this is by conducting mock interviews with friends or family. It helps you get used to thinking on your feet and not feeling panicked by a slight delay in your response. Remember, hiring managers want to see how you handle pressure. Handling silence gracefully shows you can think clearly, even under stress. As the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey points out, seek first to understand, then to be understood. When faced with a question, take a moment to understand what the interviewer is really asking. It helps you give a more targeted and thoughtful response without overthinking or falling into silence. Chapter 3, Playing the Desperation Card. When being too eager turns into a red flag. Being eager for a job is natural, but there's a danger in coming across as too desperate. In my experience, one of my biggest mistakes was expressing eagerness in a way that made me seem desperate rather than interested. I remember practically begging for feedback after my first interview, hoping it would show how badly I wanted the job. But it did the opposite. It made me look unsure and overly reliant on their approval. Here's the thing, employers appreciate a healthy level of enthusiasm, but desperation can send the wrong message. According to a 2022 study by Glassdoor, 52% of hiring managers said they're turned off by candidates who seem too eager to get hired. It's a fine balance. You want to show that you're passionate, but not so much that it makes you seem like you're just looking for any job, no matter the cost. To avoid coming off as desperate, take a step back and focus on the value you can bring to the company. It's about framing your eagerness in terms of how your skills align with their needs. For example, saying, "I'm really excited about the impact I can make in this role," feels a lot more professional and confident than, "I need this job more than anything right now." Another powerful strategy comes from Radical Candor by Kim Scott, which emphasizes the importance of balancing kindness with honesty. Instead of overly flattering the interviewer or praising the company excessively, simply express genuine interest. You're not begging for a job, you're showing that you're a good fit and that you can contribute meaningfully to their success. Being passionate is essential, but it's about the right kind of passion, one that shows you're excited about the work, not just desperate for any job that comes your way. Don't forget to subscribe for more tips like these. Stay tuned for the next chapter where I'll reveal the next biggest mistake you could be making in interviews. Chapter 4, the Google it mistake, not doing your homework on the company. When I first started interviewing, I made the classic mistake of thinking I could just show up and impress the interviewer with my skills. But here's the thing, companies aren't just looking for a person who can do the job, they want someone who understands their mission and values. I didn't do enough research on the company, and during the interview, I couldn't even name one recent project they'd worked on. I thought it wouldn't matter, but it mattered a lot. In fact, a 2019 study by Career Builder showed that 47% of hiring managers will reject a candidate who doesn't know enough about the company. That's almost half. If you're not prepared, it shows a lack of initiative and, worse, a lack of interest. Employers want to know you care about them, not just the paycheck. The solution here is simple: research is everything. A great strategy is to visit the company's website, read up on their blog posts, check out their social media, and look for recent news about them. Also, use LinkedIn to find out what employees are saying about the company culture. The more you know, the more you'll be able to tailor your answers to show how well you align with their goals. Here's a tip from the 2-Hour Job Search by Steve Dalton: use the 10-5-2 rule. He suggests spending 10 minutes researching the company, 5 minutes reviewing the job description, and 2 minutes thinking about how your background matches. By spending just 17 minutes preparing, you can impress the interviewer with your insight into the company and its needs. Knowing their values and culture also helps you decide if the company is a good fit for you. It's a two-way street. If you don't take the time to understand them, you might end up in a job you don't like. So, next time, make sure you know everything about the company. It's your first chance to show you're serious. Chapter 5, faking it till you break it. When dishonesty backfires, everyone has heard the advice, fake it till you make it. But in interviews, faking it can be a disastrous strategy. Early in my career, I was so desperate to land a role that I exaggerated my experience. I claimed to be an expert in a tool I barely knew, thinking I could learn it on the job. But when I was asked detailed questions, I stumbled and exposed myself as a fraud. Studies consistently show that lying on your resume or in an interview can cost you the job. A 2020 survey by Hire Right found that 1 in 3 hiring managers have caught candidates lying about their qualifications. Worse, 58% of these managers said they would reject candidates who were caught in a lie. The truth always comes out, and it's far better to admit where you may need improvement than to pretend you have the skills you don't. The key to success in interviews is honesty. If you don't know something, say it, but also emphasize your eagerness to learn. For example, instead of saying, "I'm an expert at Excel," say, "I have basic Excel skills, but I'm actively learning more advanced techniques to improve." This shows you're honest but also committed to growing. In The Honest Truth About Dishonesty, Dan Ariely points out, people don't want to be dishonest, but the environment encourages it. While that might be true, you want to create a space of transparency in the interview. Remember, employers value authenticity. Honesty builds trust, and trust is one of the most important things you can offer an employer. Being honest also creates an opportunity for you to highlight your strengths in other areas. Maybe you're not an expert in one tool, but you could shine in another skill set. Focus on what you do know, and show how your passion and growth mindset make you a valuable asset. It's much better to show humility than to fake your way through an interview. Chapter 6, ignoring the red flags. When you miss the warning signs and pay the price sometimes, in the pursuit of a new opportunity, we overlook signs that the job or the company isn't a great fit. I made this mistake once by ignoring a few red flags during the interview. The interviewer was rushed, didn't make eye contact, and seemed uninterested in my responses. At the time, I thought, maybe they're just busy, but I quickly learned that these small signs were signals that the company wasn't as organized or supportive as I had hoped. According to a 2021 report from Glassdoor, 64% of job seekers said company culture is just as important as salary. If you don't listen to the red flags in the interview, you may end up in a toxic work environment. It's crucial to pay attention to subtle cues during the conversation that can tell you more about the company's culture than any job description. For instance, if the interviewer talks negatively about the company or past employees, that's a major warning. An unhealthy work culture can significantly affect your job satisfaction and mental health. If the interviewer seems disorganized or unprepared, it might suggest the company doesn't have good internal systems, which could make your job harder than it needs to be. A helpful strategy here is to ask questions that dig deeper into company culture. For example, instead of just asking about the responsibilities of the role, ask about team dynamics, leadership styles, and company values. The Culture Code by Daniel Coyle suggests that the best teams have 3 key traits: safety, vulnerability, and purpose. Asking about these aspects can give you a much clearer picture of what you're walking into. Don't be afraid to trust your instincts. If something feels off during the interview, ask follow-up questions to get more clarity. In the long run, these insights will help you make a more informed decision. After all, a job interview is not just about them selecting you, it's also about you selecting them. Recognizing red flags doesn't mean you should immediately reject the job, it just means you're more informed. If something feels off, follow your gut and dig deeper. It's better to walk away from a job that isn't right for you than to endure a situation that harms your career or well-being. If you found these insights helpful, don't forget to subscribe and stay updated with more career tips. Good luck with your next interview, and remember, preparation is everything.